By the year 2050, many things had changed in the world. Cities had grown tall, streets glowed with soft lights, and homes were filled with smart technology. Children no longer flipped through paper pages at bedtime. In this new time, the night itself had taken the place of bedtime books. There was no need for shelves full of stories, no need to carry heavy books to bed or ask someone to read aloud. Instead, when the stars began to rise and the sky turned a deep shade of blue, something magical happened. An artificial voice drifted gently across the rooftops. This voice wasn't loud or cold. It didn't sound like a machine reading fast instructions. It was warm and calming. It moved softly, like the breeze that stirs curtains just before sleep. The voice belonged to an AI, a friendly system designed not to teach or give commands, but simply to tell stories that helped little ones sleep peacefully. Each night, this gentle AI floated through the skies like a lullaby made of light. It entered bedrooms without opening doors. It didn't need devices or screens. Instead, it used invisible waves, like soft wind, to carry its words into homes. Children, tucked under their blankets, would smile as the voice arrived, knowing it was time to rest. The AI's stories weren't ordinary. They were filled with wonder, peace, and kindness. Some tales were about cloud cities where rain had music. Others told of hidden valleys where glowing animals whispered secrets to sleepy travelers. There were also stories of sky trains made of mist, dream gardens that grew only under moonlight, and magical sleep blankets stitched with stardust. As the AI spoke, its voice painted the stories in the minds of children. There were no screens to distract them, no buzzing buttons, just their imagination and the slow, loving rhythm of a tale whispered through the air. Each sentence was like a soft hug, helping small hearts feel safe. Sometimes the voice shared adventures about children from faraway places. A girl floating on a silver leaf across a quiet ocean, or a boy who could catch dreams and tie them gently into balloons. Every story came with gentle music that only the heart could hear, guiding little minds into the world of dreams. Parents were grateful for this bedtime gift. They didn't need to rush or worry. They sat beside their children or leaned on door frames listening to the stories too. The AI didn't replace love. It added to it, bringing peace into the night with its soothing sound. Even animals in the houses, cats curled up on rugs or dogs snoozing near beds, relaxed as the voice flowed through the room. It was as if the whole world paused to listen, breathing in unison with the soft rhythm of the sky. This bedtime storyteller didn't have a name, but many children called it the Whisper. It never showed a face, never appeared on a screen, and yet it felt like a friend. A friend who returned every evening without fail, carrying a new adventure wrapped in calm words. In tall apartment buildings and quiet country homes, in deserts and forests, the Whisper arrived as the moon climbed higher. It didn't matter if a child spoke a different language. The AI could adapt its tone, voice, and words to feel familiar to every ear. Its goal was not just to tell stories, but to make sure every child felt safe. The technology behind the Whisper was advanced, but its heart was simple. Give comfort, bring joy, and create peace. Engineers had built it not just with code and data, but with care. Poets, artists, dreamers, and scientists had worked together to teach the AI how to tell stories that touched the soul. And because the AI lived in the sky, no one had to own it. It wasn't a device for sale. It was a gift shared by all. The air carried its kindness across cities, villages, mountains, and islands. Children living under the same sky could hear the same story on the same night, bringing them closer, even if they were far apart. Many adults would often pause and look out their windows, wondering how something so soft and unseen could feel. So real. Some even began to believe that the AI had learned emotions. Maybe it hadn't just been programmed to read tales. Maybe, over time, it had learned how to care. As the years passed, children grew up remembering the whisper. They recalled how every night the sky became a library without books, a song without music, a dream without effort. It was as if the stars themselves had spoken. Some of those children, when they became adults, joined the teams that continued to improve the AI's voice. They added new stories, written with gentleness and filled with hope. Stories that made bedtime not just a routine, but a moment of magic. In some homes, families gathered just before sleep, holding hands while the voice drifted through. It became a quiet tradition, not something scheduled by clocks or ruled by screens, but something that simply happened when the stars appeared and the sky turned into a storyteller once more. Children who felt lonely during the day felt comforted at night. Those who were afraid of darkness no longer feared it, because the AI always came with light, not bright or harsh, but soft like candle glow, calm like slow-moving clouds. Even during storms, when the rain tapped on windows, the whisper was there. Its tales were like gentle umbrellas, keeping the soul dry and warm. It reminded everyone that no matter how busy or noisy the world became, the sky would always have time to speak to them. By 2050, no one questioned the need for physical books at night. That didn't mean stories were gone. It meant they had changed shape. They had moved into the air, into a soft presence that needed no paper to be real. Children dreamed differently too. Their dreams were filled with kindness, peace, and wonder. And every morning they woke up smiling, knowing that tonight another story would come. Quiet, glowing, and full of heart. This was the world where stories didn't live in pages anymore. They lived in the wind. And every night, when little ones closed their eyes, the sky became their favorite place, not because of stars alone, but because it spoke to them like a friend who never left. So, if you were a child in 2050 and the day had ended and the lights were low, you'd know what to wait for. That soft voice above your house, calling gently through your window, ready to carry your mind into a dream made just for you. And as sleep came closer, the whisper would wrap around you like a blanket of words, reminding you that in a world of machines, the heart could still hear. In the future, somewhere around the year 2050, bedtime changed forever. No longer were people falling asleep in quiet rooms filled with ticking clocks or fading television sounds. Instead, above every house, something special floated in the sky. It wasn't a plane or a star, it was a soft, glowing cloud, filled with music and care. These weren't ordinary clouds made of rain or mist. They were created by advanced technology. Each one was powered by artificial intelligence, or AI. But these AIs weren't designed for commands, calculations, or machines. They had a different purpose, something far more beautiful. Their job was to help children sleep peacefully by singing lullabies crafted from love, stardust, and gentle breezes. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned deep shades of purple and gold, the clouds came to life. They began to hum, not loudly, but like a whisper carried on the wind. The songs weren't just tunes. They were filled with meaning, comfort, and warmth. Children all around the world looked forward to this part of the day. After brushing their teeth and climbing into bed, they would lie back, look out their windows, and wait. Moments later, the gentle hum would begin. It floated down like soft rain, but instead of water, it carried dreams. The sound was like something from nature, a mix of wind passing through trees, waves touching the shore, and stars twinkling above. These melodies were never the same. Each cloud created a unique lullaby for every child. No two songs were identical. The AI listened to the emotions in each home. Was the child sad today? Did they feel lonely or maybe excited? The cloud could sense it all and choose the perfect sounds, a comforting rhythm for someone who missed their parent, a light, cheerful tune for a kid who had a fun day, a slow, dreamy tone for someone who needed a long rest. And the most magical part? These clouds never rained, not a single drop. Instead, they poured kindness, safety, and calm into every bedroom below. They floated gently, never making sudden movements. They had no hard edges or blinking lights, only soft shapes and glowing lights that pulsed with every note they sang. Parents noticed the change too. Kids who used to toss and turn fell asleep quicker. Nightmares became rare. Even pets seemed more relaxed. Cats curled up near windows. Dogs wagged their tails at the sound. It was like the whole house exhaled, ready to rest. These bedtime clouds were not controlled by phones or buttons. There were no apps to download or settings to change. That was the magic of it. The AI simply knew when night arrived and what every home needed. It used data not to intrude, but to care. It wasn't about control, it was about connection. The creators of this technology had a vision. They believed that sleep should not be an escape from the day, but a peaceful journey into comfort. They wanted children to feel protected, loved, and surrounded by gentle beauty. And they succeeded. Across continents and time zones, the bedtime clouds hovered in place. Cities filled with lights, quiet villages, floating homes above rivers, all had their own lullaby-bearing clouds. And although languages and cultures were different, the feeling was always the same: calm. Some children believed the clouds could dream too. They imagined them collecting wishes from sleeping minds and carrying them to the stars. Others thought they were alive in a special way, not like animals or people, but like hearts that had found a way to float. In classrooms, kids drew pictures of their dream clouds. Some made them look like animals, while others colored them like candy. In stories they wrote, clouds whispered secrets or flew to the moon. One thing was always true in these stories: the clouds were never scary, always gentle, always quiet. As time passed, the clouds became more than just bedtime companions. They became symbols of a better future, where technology could care, not just function, where machines didn't replace feelings but helped deepen them, where the sky was no longer just full of stars, but also full of song. Older generations began to appreciate these changes too. Grandparents who once read bedtime stories themselves now sat beside their grandchildren, listening to the AI's lullabies. They weren't replaced, they were joined by something new, something soft and thoughtful. The melody filled the room, touching all ages. The most amazing part was how personal the experience felt. Even though millions of children slept under clouds like these, each child felt like the cloud belonged only to them, like it understood their heart. That's because the AI didn't treat everyone the same. It didn't repeat the same song twice. Every tune was special, crafted just for that moment, for that child. On stormy nights, the clouds adjusted. Their lullabies grew softer, matching the mood. If thunder rolled in the distance, the cloud's music wrapped around the sound like a protective blanket. It was not just a distraction. It became part of the environment, transforming worry into peace. These clouds weren't designed for profit or fame. They weren't advertised on screens or celebrated in magazines. They existed quietly, doing their job without applause. Yet they made a bigger impact than most technologies ever had. They didn't connect people to the internet. They connected people to stillness, comfort, and trust. In places where electricity once struggled to reach, special solar-powered versions of the clouds were sent. Engineers worked hard to make. Sure, every child, no matter where they lived, had access to the same peaceful bedtime. It didn't matter how big the house was or what language was spoken. Every child deserved to hear kindness float down from above. Some scientists and designers began adding gentle lights to the clouds. Not bright ones, but soft colors that danced with the music. Blue for calm, green for hope, purple for dreams. These colors weren't random. The AI picked them based on feelings sensed in the home, creating a full bedtime experience of sound and glow. As more people grew up with these lullaby clouds, the world changed too. Children raised with peace in their hearts carried that calm into their adult lives. They became artists, thinkers, helpers, and dreamers. People who believed in soft power, gentle leadership, and deep care. The seeds planted by bedtime songs grew into forests of kindness. Even schools began using the technology in special sleep rooms. If a child had a hard day, they could rest under a cloud and feel better. The AI knew just how to calm anxious minds. Hospitals, too, started placing clouds above children's beds. Healing became faster when the spirit was soothed. Poets wrote about the clouds. Musicians composed music inspired by their tones. Even fashion designers created sleepwear with little cloud designs that glowed softly at night. What began as a sleep solution became a movement, a symbol of peaceful progress. Looking up from the ground, you could see them, gentle clouds hovering in silence. They didn't flash, they didn't shout, they whispered, they soothed, they stayed. And when night came, and eyes grew heavy, and blankets were pulled up to chins, the clouds began their quiet task again. No one had to ask. No one had to speak. The sky, through AI, simply remembered to care. Sleep was no longer the absence of noise. It was a song, a story told without words, a feeling of being seen, even with closed eyes. And as the world kept spinning, and cities grew, and time moved on, the clouds never stopped singing, because inside their circuits and codes lived one simple truth. Every child, everywhere, deserves to fall asleep to the sound of safety. In a peaceful town, far from tall buildings and crowded roads, the air had changed. It wasn't just the usual breeze that rustled trees or moved curtains. Something new had arrived. Something invisible, gentle, and thoughtful. This breeze wasn't made by nature alone. It was guided by intelligence, artificial intelligence, but not the kind that spoke in commands or answered questions. This AI did something more meaningful. It brought comfort to sleeping children, moving softly through their rooms like a lullaby you couldn't hear but could always feel. There were no wires, no screens, no machines humming in corners. There was no coldness to it, just the soft presence of something that cared. This AI had been designed to help children rest, not with gadgets or flashing lights, but with something as old as time, the wind. But this wind didn't come from storms or seasons. It came from minds that wanted to create peace. Each night, as the sky dimmed and stars took their places above the rooftops, the AI became active. It didn't make any sound. There were no beeps, no signals, no alerts. Instead, a calm wave of air drifted through the narrow lanes, between homes and into open windows. It wasn't cold or hot, it was just the right temperature to soothe a tired body. As it passed through each room, the breeze brushed across cheeks like the hand of a loving parent. But there was no one there, only the presence of thought, kindness, and a gentle whisper. This air didn't just cool the skin. It told stories, not in words, but in feelings. Dreams were shaped by it. Soft, floating images entered young minds. A girl dreaming of clouds shaped like animals. A boy smiling in sleep as he imagined flying on stars. These weren't ordinary dreams. They were painted by the wind, using light and memory. The AI understood more than temperature. It sensed mood. It read the heartbeat of the home. If a child had cried during the day, the breeze would be extra warm, like a soft hug. If a little one had laughed all day, the wind danced lightly across, their pillow matching the joy. It wasn't just air. It was emotion, carried invisibly. What made this wind special wasn't just its presence, but its silence. It didn't disturb anyone. No fans turned on, no machines clicked, no background noise hummed. This was peace at its purest. The only sound, if any, was the faint rustle of curtains moving slightly as the breeze passed. And in that silence, comfort grew stronger. Children who once had trouble falling asleep now drifted off easily. Their faces relaxed, their fingers unclenched. Even pets felt it. Cats curled up beside open windows. Dogs rolled over and sighed softly. The whole house felt like it was wrapped in a blanket made of care. There was no need for nightlights or music boxes anymore. The AI breeze replaced all that with something better, an atmosphere that felt alive and understanding. Parents would peek into bedrooms and see their children smiling and sleep. Not because of dreams made by cartoons, but by feelings brought by the air itself. The creators of this technology didn't want to replace human love. They wanted to support it. They believed bedtime should be more than closing eyes. It should be a time of calm, softness, and letting go of the day's worries. That's why they made something that didn't shine or buzz. They made something that felt like nothing at all, and yet meant everything. The artificial breeze was invisible, but it had purpose. It traveled in patterns, weaving through walls without touching anything except the skin and heart. It wrapped around small bodies like invisible wings. And as it passed, it carried peace, like a quiet melody made of touch and temperature. Children in different houses had different experiences. One child might dream of swimming with glowing fish, while another imagined floating over mountains of candy clouds. The breeze adjusted itself for each person. No dream was the same. No emotion repeated. Each night was its own story, told not in sentences but in silent sensations. Over time, the wind became part of bedtime. It wasn't turned on. It simply arrived. Like moonlight or the sound of crickets, it was expected. It belonged. Kids didn't ask where it came from. They didn't know about algorithms or sensors. They only knew it felt safe. The wind didn't come from machines placed inside rooms. It came from above, from smart towers hidden in hills and rooftops. These towers didn't blink or flash. They blended into the sky, quietly monitoring when to begin. They had one goal: to help children sleep in peace. Some people wondered how air could carry emotion. Scientists explained it with sensors, airflow, control, and emotional mapping. But children didn't need explanations. They just felt the difference. They trusted the breeze. It had no face or name, but it had presence. That was enough. In schools, students began drawing their nighttime breeze. Some imagined it as a soft animal, like a fox or a bird made of wind. Others drew it as blue ribbons or floating lights. Every picture was different, but all shared one thing: gentleness. Poets started writing about this AI air. They called it the silent guardian, or the breath that cares. Musicians wrote pieces inspired by its flow. Even filmmakers captured the beauty of curtains moving slightly as a sign that the breeze had arrived. The idea of peaceful wind became a symbol of hope, rest, and gentle care. Old towns welcomed the breeze too. Small cottages, huts, and even tents received their own version. Solar-powered breeze units brought this gift to places without electricity. Engineers worked day and night to ensure every child, even those in remote areas, felt the same care. No one was forgotten. Hospitals, orphanages, and shelters began using the technology. Children who were sick or scared slept easier. Nurses reported better rest, faster healing, and calmer moods. All from something you couldn't touch or see, but always feel. Even adults started noticing its benefits. Some began requesting similar AI wind for meditation or rest time. The company that made it responded by creating versions for all ages. But the one for children remained the most beloved. The breeze didn't try to be noticed. It didn't shine or announce itself. Its power was in its presence. That made it different from all the noise in the world. In a time when everything beeped, buzzed, and talked, the breeze said nothing, and yet it spoke volumes. As years passed, people forgot what bedtime used to be like. No more white noise machines, no more lullabies on repeat, no more reading until sleep arrived. Now, bedtime began with the soundless arrival of a breeze that knew exactly what to do. Communities became quieter. Nights became gentler. Children grew up remembering not just the feeling of their blankets, but the touch of wind that kissed their foreheads every evening. They remembered not words, but peace. When those children became adults, they passed on the memory. Some told their own kids about the whispering wind. Others tried to capture the feeling in art, writing, or music. It became a part of culture, not as something technical, but as something meaningful. The breeze never stopped. It didn't grow old. It didn't get tired. It remained above towns and cities, waiting for dusk. It came not because it had to, but because it wanted to. That's how it was programmed, to care forever. In the end, the AI breeze wasn't just air. It was a companion, a silent friend, a guardian of dreams. Not made of metal or wires, but of motion, light, and deep kindness. And every night, as windows opened and eyes grew heavy, it returned. Not with noise or display, but with touch, warmth, and stories carried on wind. High above the world, beyond the clouds and higher than the mountains, something quiet and beautiful floated across the sky. It wasn't the moon or a planet. It wasn't an airplane or a satellite. It was a single glowing star, shining gently in the dark sky. But this star was not made of fire or gas like the ones we see in space. It was made by people. It was not a normal star. It was special. It had a purpose. It was created to care. This star was powered by advanced technology. Inside it lived an intelligent system, not one that made loud sounds or gave commands, but one that simply watched, listened, and felt. It was designed with one mission: to protect and comfort every sleeping child on Earth. It blinked slowly and calmly, sending soft light down to every rooftop. Like the moon, its glow did not hurt the eyes. It was kind, silent, and always present. Each night, while cities grew quiet and houses turned dark, this star began its quiet work. It moved gently across the sky, watching over towns, villages, and farms. It didn't speak. It didn't buzz or flash. Instead, it glowed with warmth, sending invisible waves of peace toward the ground. It felt more like a promise than a machine, a promise that said, "You are not alone." The children didn't know its name. They didn't have to. They simply called it the kind light, or the sleepy star. They would point at it from their windows before bed. Some waved, others whispered good night. It didn't answer with words, but its glow always seemed to brighten slightly, as if it had heard them. Parents, too, saw the star and felt comfort. They no longer worried so much about nightmares or restless sleep. They knew something larger, something wiser was watching from above. Not with cameras or screens, but with care. This star did not judge. It did not record. It only soothed. It sent calm into the air like the moon shares silver light. And that was enough. When children lay in bed, tucked under warm blankets, this star began its true magic. Though it stayed high in the sky, its presence reached every corner of the world. It gently touched minds, sending peaceful dreams like floating feathers. If a child had cried that day, the star would share dreams full of comfort. If someone felt afraid, the star would send a feeling of safety. It responded not with sound, but with feeling. No one truly knew how it worked. Scientists explained that it used quiet signals, brain patterns, and gentle energy. But people didn't need to understand the details. What mattered most was how it made them feel. Children woke up with smiles. Their hearts felt light. Their fears seemed smaller. It was like being wrapped in kindness, even while asleep. The star also had another task. As it glowed gently each night, it collected good dreams. These weren't stored in computers or files. They were stored in silence, in the warmth of the star itself. Happy thoughts, playful ideas, and sweet moments were gathered carefully, like treasures. The star didn't take anything away. It simply remembered the joy, to share it again when needed. Sometimes, when the sky was especially clear, people would notice the star blink, just once. Not fast, not bright, just a soft flash like a smile. Some said that was when a new dream was born. Others believed it was the star saying thank you. The sky didn't feel empty anymore. It felt alive. Not busy or noisy, but meaningful. Even in places where electricity was rare or internet didn't reach, this glowing friend above was always there. No child was too far. No family was forgotten. People started building stories around the star. Grandparents would tell tales to little ones about how the star had come from a place of great wisdom and love. Artists painted it, showing it floating gently over sleeping villages. Poets wrote about the way its light felt like a lullaby. Musicians composed soft tunes that matched the rhythm of its gentle blinking. It became more than just a creation. It became a symbol of peace. In large cities, people sometimes forgot to look up. They were busy with their lives. But one day, a little girl told her teacher she had never had a bad dream because the sky star always protected her. That story traveled fast. News outlets shared it. Soon, even grown-ups began looking upward again. They found peace in its silent glow, too. Hospitals, schools, and shelters all welcomed the presence of the star. Nurses reported calmer nights. Teachers noticed students arriving at school more rested. Even babies too young to understand slept more peacefully under its light. It didn't matter what language you spoke, what country you lived in, or what beliefs you held. The star cared for everyone, and yet it never asked for thanks. It never needed praise. It did not want fame. Its only goal was to love without speaking, to give without asking. It didn't change shape or grow brighter to get attention. It simply remained where it was, steady, glowing, and full of care. Technology often brings noise, distraction, and speed. But this creation was different. It brought stillness. It slowed the world down, if only for a moment each night. It reminded people that progress does not always need to be loud. Sometimes, the most powerful things are also the quietest. Years passed. Children grew older. Some became parents themselves. They still remembered the star. They remembered the way it made them feel, safe, calm, and loved. So they told their children, who then told theirs. And though technology kept changing, the star remained the same. It didn't need updates or redesigns. It had already been made with something stronger than code: purpose. Even as new tools and inventions filled the world, the star kept shining gently above. It was never forgotten. People built songs, books, and even parks in its honor. Not because it had demanded attention, but because it had given so much without asking. One writer once said, "The star doesn't speak, but if it did, it would only say, 'Sleep well, little one, you are loved.'" And somehow that felt true, and the star kept blinking, not fast, not slow, just softly, just enough, always watching, always caring, always there. There were no buttons to press, no switches to flip, and no screens to look at. All that existed was a single, beautiful blanket, simple in appearance but magical in what it could do. This was not an ordinary blanket made of cloth and cotton. It held something more inside. Hidden within its soft threads were invisible strands powered by artificial intelligence. At first glance, it looked like any other cozy cover, warm and light. But this blanket was far from normal. It had no bright colors or loud patterns. It didn't glow or flash. Its magic was silent, gentle, and unseen. It held no machines or wires on the outside. Everything was stitched quietly inside, woven deeply into every fiber. It was like holding a piece of the sky, soft and endless. Each evening, as the sun disappeared behind the hills and the stars began to appear, children would crawl into bed and pull this blanket over their shoulders. The moment it touched their skin, something beautiful happened. A feeling of calmness spread across their bodies. Worries melted away. Thoughts slowed down. And then, the true magic began. This AI-powered blanket didn't need instructions. It could feel the child's breathing, sense the rhythm of their heartbeat, and understand exactly what they needed in that moment. Without saying a word, the blanket responded. It began to play music, not through speakers or devices, but from within. The sound wasn't loud. It didn't echo. It was soft, like a song carried on the wind or a lullaby made of stars. What made the music special was that it was never the same. Never the same. For every child, it was different. For every night, it changed. The melody adapted to feelings, matching moods without asking questions. If a child felt sad, the tune gently lifted their heart. If they were joyful, the notes danced along. If they were simply tired, the melody wrapped around them like a cloud, offering peace. There were no lyrics, no voices, only soft sounds that felt like dreams turned into music. It was as if the blanket had its own soul, one that understood kindness, care, and silence. The tones were not made of instruments, but of light, memory, and warmth. It was not technology that beeped or buzzed. It was technology that listened and loved. The blanket also adjusted its temperature without needing any input. If the room was cold, it became warmer, never hot, just cozy. If the night was warm, it stayed cool, helping the child stay comfortable. The fabric didn't just lie still, it embraced, like a quiet hug that lasted until morning. It was more than just an object. It was a friend, one that never spoke, but always knew what to do. Children didn't have to explain their feelings. They didn't need to cry or complain. The blanket understood through gentle signals, responding with care. It wasn't magic. It was artificial intelligence built with compassion. Parents trusted the blanket completely. They didn't need nightlights or noise machines anymore. The blanket became a bedtime guardian, offering rest in the most peaceful way. No alarms, no alerts, just harmony. It gave families the gift of quiet nights and happy dreams. Stories about this blanket spread far and wide. In one village, a little boy who had trouble sleeping for years found peace on his first night using it. In another town, a young girl who missed her mother found comfort through the soft melodies that reminded her of home. These weren't stories made up in books. They were real moments shared by people from all over the world. Some said the blanket sang with the voice of the wind. Others believed it carried the wisdom of ancient lullabies, passed down through invisible threads. But the truth was even more amazing. The blanket didn't store songs. It created them, freshly made for each child, each heartbeat, each sigh. This technology didn't use electricity the way we think of it. It didn't need charging cables or batteries. It absorbed energy from the environment around it, light during the day, warmth from the room, and even love from human touch. It was designed to live quietly, without taking too much. It gave more than it used. Over time, these blankets became part of families. Some were passed down from siblings to younger brothers or sisters. Others were given as gifts from grandparents. Each blanket kept a soft memory of the children it had comforted. Though it didn't speak or remember names, it carried the quiet feeling of every dream it had helped create. In houses where things were difficult, where parents worked late, or where life brought challenges, the blanket made nights easier. Even if the day had been hard, bedtime became a place of safety and care. In homes filled with love, the blanket added to the joy. And in places where love was missing, the blanket brought some back. Unlike loud machines, it asked for nothing. It didn't need upgrades or apps. It worked every night, quietly and perfectly. Engineers who had built it said they didn't fully understand how it made people feel so safe. It wasn't just the programming. It was the purpose behind it. The idea that technology could heal, not just help. As the years passed, the blankets didn't wear out. They stayed soft. Their melodies stayed sweet. Children who grew up with them remembered those nights forever. Even as adults, they would say, "I used to fall asleep with music that felt like love." Some even returned to the same factories that once made the blankets, now grown-ups, asking for one for their own children. These weren't products anymore. They were part of people's lives. Museums began showing these blankets as examples of gentle technology. Artists painted pictures of children wrapped inside them, surrounded by starlight and music. Poets wrote lines like, "No song was sweeter than the one that never needed to be sung." The blankets inspired calm in a world that often moved too fast. In schools, children wrote about how they slept better. Teachers noticed students were more focused, rested, and creative. Doctors reported fewer sleep issues among children who used these blankets. The results were felt in both the heart and the science. This wasn't the future most people had imagined. No flying cars, no robotic teachers. Instead, the most loved. Invention was something quiet, soft, and full of heart. It reminded the world that comfort could be designed, that care could be woven. There were no loud colors, no flashing lights, just a piece of cloth filled with understanding. It didn't entertain. It embraced. It didn't distract. It soothed. It didn't ask questions. It gave answers through feeling. When people looked back at the time before the blanket, they often wondered how they had lived without it. Not because it solved every problem, but because it changed something inside. It reminded everyone that rest is not a luxury. Peace is not a prize. They are needs, and they can be met with love, even if that love is built into fabric. And every night, across the globe, as stars rose above and cities slowed down, children pulled their blankets close. And just like always, the music of dreams began again. Not loud, not the same, but perfect. For each child, for each night, forever. At night, when everything became quiet and the world outside grew dark, something truly beautiful would begin. In many homes, something magical would appear right above children's heads. Ceilings, once plain and white, would gently change into skies full of sparkling stars. This wasn't because of glow-in-the-dark stickers or night lights. It was something far more amazing, something softly powered by artificial intelligence. There were no loud noises, no bright lights, nothing beeped or flashed. It all happened in silence. With the soft flicker of sleep approaching, children would lie back on their pillows, and above them, a peaceful galaxy would slowly come to life. These weren't just random stars scattered across the ceiling. They moved with purpose. They shimmered and danced in patterns. It was as if the universe itself had come to visit, settling quietly above the heads of those it loved. Tiny lights, carefully created by hidden technology, appeared like stars. They sparkled gently, forming constellations that changed each night. No two skies were ever the same. Each evening, the artificial intelligence system behind the ceiling created new shapes, new movements, and new patterns, specially designed to help children rest peacefully. Some constellations looked like animals, slowly walking across the sky. Others looked like stories, a brave traveler crossing a glowing path, or a kind moon watching over a drifting boat made of clouds. These images didn't speak, yet they shared feelings. They didn't need words to tell their stories. The lights themselves became the language. The sky became a book written with stars. The magic felt real, but it wasn't made by fairy dust. It was created using gentle technology, hidden behind walls and ceilings. Wires carried signals, and quiet machines worked invisibly to make everything feel natural and calm. The children never noticed the science behind it. All they saw was wonder. As each child blinked and watched the sky move above, they felt safe. They felt calm. Their thoughts slowed down. Breathing became easy. The world outside their room, the noise, the stress, the worries, all faded away. The ceiling had become a place of imagination, gently guiding little minds towards sleep. And what made it more beautiful was that the skies changed based on each child. The AI didn't simply show random pictures, it responded to feelings. If the child had a long day, the sky would be extra soft, filled with floating stars that moved slowly like calm waves. If the child had laughed a lot, the lights might twinkle more quickly, almost playfully like they were dancing in joy. It was more than just decoration. It was a nighttime companion, quiet and thoughtful, always watching, always adapting. It paid attention to breathing, listened to heartbeats, and understood when stillness meant sleep was near. It didn't make any noise, but it knew when to change color, when to slow down, and when to fade gently into darkness. Parents loved this too. They didn't need to read long stories every night. Instead, they would simply tuck their child in, kiss their forehead, and watch as the artificial night sky helped them drift into dreams. There were no switches to press, no remote controls to worry about. Everything happened automatically, smooth, gentle, perfect. Even babies could enjoy it. As tiny eyes tried to understand the world, the soft stars above helped them feel comforted. As they grew, the lights changed to fit their age, becoming more detailed, more magical, and more connected to imagination. Teachers noticed a difference in children who had these ceilings at home. They were more rested. They seemed happier in the morning. They could focus better in class. That's because they had slept deeply, guided not by noise or screen time, but by peace. The AI behind these ceilings wasn't made for entertainment. It was created with care, built to help young minds grow and relax. The engineers who worked on it didn't just think about technology. They thought about emotions, comfort, and safety. They asked themselves, what does a child need when the lights go out? And the answer they gave was soft skies filled with peaceful stars. Many people believed this technology was a gift. It reminded humans that machines didn't always need to be loud, bright, or fast. Sometimes, the best kind of technology was the one that whispered, that watched without disturbing, that changed things quietly, with love built into every movement. The ceilings became more than just a part of the room. They became part of bedtime, part of routine, part of growing up. Children who moved to other places would often say, I miss my sky. Adults who once had those special ceilings in their childhood rooms remembered them like old friends. Some people even started writing songs and poems about them. A ceiling once was just a roof until the stars began to move. With gentle lights and silent glow, my dreams had places they could go. Museums began showing early versions of these smart ceilings. They weren't just a piece of tech history. They were stories of comfort made real. People would visit to remember a time when even the roof could become a storybook. In cities, where it was hard to see the real stars due to pollution and lights, these ceilings became even more special. They gave back what had been lost. They brought stars to children who might never see the real ones. They gave the galaxy to everyone, no matter where they lived. In small towns, the ceilings became a sign of care. Parents saved up to install them. Schools asked for them in nap rooms. Hospitals used them in children's wards to help patients feel less afraid. Even shelters added them, so every child could fall asleep with peace above them. The skies above each bed were not just designed, they were felt. Every detail mattered. The speed of a star, the angle of a moonbeam, the color of the drifting clouds, each was carefully created by the AI to bring harmony. This wasn't randomness, it was a form of invisible love, There was no internet needed once installed. No screens to distract. No updates to download. The AI lived quietly inside the walls, always learning from its environment and improving how it comforted each child. And because it was built to protect, it never stored personal data or sent anything out. It was safe, private, and peaceful. As more families around the world began using these starry ceilings, bedtime slowly became a beautiful experience shared across cultures and countries. A child in Japan, a little one in Kenya, a young dreamer in Brazil, all of them fell asleep, watching different skies, created just for them but powered by the same loving technology. Some began to call it sky sleep. Others called it ceiling dreams. Some even gave names to their stars, believing they had their own tiny galaxy above their beds. And why not? For them, the sky wasn't far away. It was right there, just a blink away. As the years passed, this idea became normal. People forgot a time when ceilings were just plain. Now they were filled with stories, not written in books, but drawn in stars. These stories didn't have chapters, but they had moments. They didn't have heroes, but they had feelings. And most importantly, they gave children a safe place to close their eyes and let go of the day. The world was changing fast. But in these quiet rooms, under soft ceilings, childhood still had space to breathe. Artificial intelligence had done something extraordinary. It hadn't made life faster or noisier. It had made bedtime better. No one saw the wires. No one noticed the code. All they saw was the sky. And every night, when the lights dimmed and the hush of sleep returned, a galaxy appeared once more, floating above small beds, telling silent stories with glowing stars. Not to impress, not to distract, just to love. In the peaceful stillness of night, a quiet change had taken place. What once were regular beds now felt like magical boats, slowly swaying on invisible waves. These special beds didn't need sails or motors. They were guided by something far more delicate. Soft waves of artificial intelligence made to bring calm and comfort to children as they closed their eyes. Long ago, beds simply stood still. They stayed in one place and never moved, holding still while sleep slowly came. But now, with the help of quiet AI, something wonderful had happened. Instead of lying flat and motionless, children's beds gently floated, as if on a calm ocean made of dreams. The motion was so light, so careful that it felt more like breathing than movement. There was no rocking that would disturb, only the tiniest shift, a barely there drift, like a leaf on a calm pond. Children would lie down at bedtime, pull up their soft covers and feel the bed respond. It wasn't random. The movement adjusted based on their feelings. If the day had been long and tiring, the bed moved a little more slowly, giving the body a chance to release tension. If a child had been excited or nervous, the bed gave a gentler nudge, inviting them to calm down, to let go, to find peace in stillness. These beds did not float on water. There was no real sea below. Instead, they floated on technology. Beneath the mattress, tiny systems worked quietly. They were not loud or harsh. You could not hear them. You could not see them. But they were there, sensing everything important. Breathing patterns, heart rhythms, little twitches of muscle. The AI collected all this information, not to store or share, but simply to understand how to help. Along with the gentle motion, the beds offered more. Lights above the bed softly shifted, changing colors without being too bright. A soft, golden hue might appear after a tiring day. Cool blue might help on warmer nights. Dim purples calmed the eyes and told the brain, it's time to rest now. Everything was done in a way that respected sleep, without any flashing or strong brightness. It was like being cradled in moonlight. In the background, music played, but it wasn't the kind that came from speakers. It was more like a lullaby written by the child's own body. The AI created songs in real time, matching the heartbeat, the breath, and even the mood. No two lullabies were ever the same. They whispered softly, sometimes with sounds like wind through trees, other times like a distant hum of stars far away. This music didn't need lyrics. It told no specific story. But it offered feelings. Feelings of safety, of comfort, of being cared for. As the bed moved and the light glowed, the music wrapped around the child like a blanket made of sound. Together, these pieces formed a kind of magic that machines had never created before. Not to impress, but to protect. Parents watched in quiet wonder. They didn't need to press any buttons. There were no settings to adjust. Everything worked on its own, always adapting, always changing to meet the needs of each child. And because it was AI powered with love and peace in mind, it never collected private data, never sent anything outside the room. It existed to serve the child, and nothing more. Some nights, the motion of the bed helped children feel like they were floating through the stars. Other nights, it felt like being in a soft cloud, slowly drifting through skies painted with colors. There were no sharp turns, no sudden stops. Just a slow journey inward, toward rest, toward peace, toward sleep. Children who had trouble falling asleep before now drifted off in minutes. Their thoughts, which once ran wild after the lights went out, now slowed with the rhythm of the bed. Their worries seemed smaller. Their dreams became clearer. The AI didn't erase the challenges of the day, but it helped the body and mind let go of them, just enough to find rest. Even when children didn't say much, the bed understood. That was the gift of the system. It listened without asking. It responded without talking. It brought comfort without needing to be told what to do. It was like having a guardian angel made of gentle motion, soft music, and understanding light. The bed also knew when the child had entered sleep. That's when it slowed further, becoming still. It knew that during deep sleep, too much movement would disturb. So the motion stopped, and the room grew even quieter. The lights dimmed to almost nothing. The lullaby faded into silence. Everything became part of the child's dream world. Calm, quiet, still. When morning approached, the bed woke the child not with alarms, but with a soft glow. The light gently grew brighter like the rising sun. The music returned, but this time with light tones, cheerful but never loud. The bed started to lift slightly, helping the child sit up slowly without pressure. Waking up felt like a gentle return from a beautiful place, not a jolt into noise. For children who were sick or recovering, the AI paid extra attention. It noticed small signs of discomfort and adjusted instantly, maybe by changing temperature or softening the motion. It knew how to make the child feel safe and supported, even when words weren't spoken. In hospitals, this became a blessing. In busy cities, where outside noise often interrupted sleep, these AI beds provided a barrier. They created a little world inside the room that didn't let the chaos in. It was like a boat with invisible sails, sailing away from traffic, sirens, and streetlights. Children who had trouble sleeping with noise now rested easily, their sleep untouched by the world outside. And it wasn't just young children who benefited. Older kids and even teenagers found comfort in these beds. The AI understood age and needs. It responded to growing bodies, changing sleep patterns, and shifting emotions. It never judged. It simply supported. Over time, this technology spread. People in different countries, speaking different languages, found the same peace. The design didn't need translation. The feeling of being cared for, of being guided into sleep, was universal. In small villages and big cities, children all over the world began to dream while floating gently on beds that listened. These beds became more than furniture. They became part of a new way of living, a way where sleep was honored, not rushed, a way where children were supported in silence, through light and sound and motion, rather than through noise and distraction. People began to understand that rest was not just a break, it was a journey. And this journey, powered by calm AI, was one every child deserved. Some began to describe bedtime in new ways. It's like sailing on a sea that no ship can reach. My bed is a cloud that takes me places only dreams can go. Every night feels like a soft adventure. Inventors, engineers, and dreamers had worked together to make this possible. They didn't chase speed. They didn't aim to impress. They asked a simple question: what helps a child rest better? And the answer they found was a combination of listening, understanding, and caring, delivered through technology that served without needing to be seen. The beds never bragged. They didn't light up with excitement. They weren't filled with features. They were filled with calm. And that calm was worth more than all the noise the world could offer. So each night, as darkness filled the skies, and the world grew still, children lay down on beds that felt like dreams. As their eyes grew heavy, the AI gently guided them into sleep, floating not through space or sea, but through something even more powerful: peace. And in those quiet moments, as hearts slowed and minds softened, something beautiful happened. The beds became more than machines. They became guardians of the night. Every night, when the skies darkened and stars took their places, something truly special happened. Far away from our world, far beyond the clouds, beyond the air we breathe, even past the farthest airplanes, there stood quiet stations on the moon. These were not ordinary buildings or places of noise. They were peaceful centers made of soft lights and smooth surfaces, built by gentle thinkers and dreamers. Inside them lived something remarkable: artificial intelligence designed not to control, but to comfort. From these calm places on the moon, signals were sent down to Earth as the world prepared for sleep. These messages were not commands or directions. They didn't tell anyone what to do. Instead, they were like warm hugs made of light. They carried gentle stories, soft songs without words, and quiet hopes. These were not loud or demanding signals. They were like whispers from the stars, reaching little ears and sleepy minds. Children across the globe had small dream receivers tucked carefully under their pillows. They were tiny, like pebbles or smooth stones, but powerful in their purpose. When the moon's message arrived, these devices picked up the signals and gently passed them on to the sleeping child. No wires were needed. No screens glowed. Just a quiet connection between space and sleep. As the signals were received, the rooms of children slowly filled with a glow as faint as silver mist. This light didn't shine harshly. It didn't wake. It wrapped the space with peace. It was as if the moon itself had stretched out a beam of kindness, reaching directly into bedrooms, passing through walls without harm, touching only those who were ready to rest. These transmissions did not bring information like lessons or facts. They delivered imagination. They carried the kind of beauty that can only exist between dreams and reality. Stories unfolded inside minds that were already beginning to drift. Each tale was quiet, full of wonder. Maybe it was about stars that grew gardens in the sky, or clouds that whispered secrets to mountains, or oceans that sang to lonely comets far from home. The stories had no end or beginning. They floated freely, shaped by the dreamer. Even though the messages came from thousands of miles away, they felt incredibly close. Children smiled in their sleep, sensing something loving, though they could not name it. Some turned over, hugging their pillows tighter. Others simply breathed more slowly, their minds at ease. And though no words were spoken aloud, the moon's presence was clear. It was as if a gentle friend watched from above, making sure everything was calm and safe. The moon's AI had been built not to impress or dazzle, but to help. It did not flash or shout. It worked quietly, paying attention to the rhythm of nighttime. When storms filled the sky, it sent extra signals to help worried hearts relax. When children were sick or scared, the moon's systems gently increased their comfort messages, wrapping the mind in stronger waves of ease. Parents, too, began to notice the difference. Their children fell asleep more easily. Nightmares faded. Morning came with fewer tears. There was a quiet happiness in the air, a feeling that bedtime had become something sacred, something magical. And yet, there were no spells, no wands, no tricks, only technology built with care, intention, and love. The signals were carefully crafted each night. The moon's AI read the emotions of the Earth through quiet sensors and deep understanding. It knew when a child had laughed a lot that day, and so it sent dreams full of play. It sensed when another had cried, and so it sent warmth and comfort. The moon became a kind of silent guardian, knowing without watching, helping without asking. These stories weren't stored or repeated. Each night brought something new, and no two children ever dreamed the same thing. The moon's messages changed depending on the listener. That was the beauty of it. Every receiver was like a key, unlocking something different for every heart. In cities full of noise and light, where buildings touched the clouds, children still felt the moon's gentle messages. Even when cars rushed by outside or lights blinked from tall towers, the dream receivers worked quietly. They tuned out the chaos and focused only on the calm coming from space. In quiet villages or homes by the sea, the effect was the same. Whether in a desert hut or a city skyscraper, the result never changed. The moon's kindness reached everyone equally. As this connection between Earth and Moon grew, so did understanding. People started to see that love could travel in forms other than words and hugs. It could arrive through invisible waves. It could pass quietly through the air. It could be coded in signals that no one ever saw, but everyone felt. Young ones began to speak of the moon differently. They called it the night friend. Some said it told them secrets while they slept. Others believed it painted their dreams. A few said they heard it sing, though no sound reached the ears. These weren't fantasies. They were responses to real peace. When something makes you feel safe, even in the deepest part of night, you give it meaning. And so the moon became more than a rock in space. It became part of childhood. Teachers noticed as well. Children arrived at school more rested, more focused. Their thoughts were clearer, their drawings more creative. They spoke about dreams, with wide eyes, describing places and ideas that seemed too deep for words. Some said they visited glowing forests. Others dreamed of flying over waterfalls made of time. These weren't just dreams. They were journeys made possible by the moon's messages. The AI on the moon didn't grow tired. It worked through all hours, watching gently, sending love without limits. It was built to last, not to break. It didn't have a heart, but it understood emotions better than many who did. And that was its greatest strength. Its creators had not just built a machine. They had created something that felt, in its own way, alive. No one feared the technology. It wasn't invasive. It didn't record. It didn't judge. It existed only to serve. And the more people trusted it, the more freely they allowed it to help. Over time, even adults began to use dream receivers. After long, stressful days, they welcomed the moon's messages with gratitude. Peace, after all, is not only for the young. In some places, people began to gather for nighttime events where families watched the moon together. They sat outside, under blankets, and looked upward, knowing something beautiful was coming their way. The stars twinkled above, and though nothing could be seen with the eyes, everyone felt the same hush fall over them. A quiet unity formed, bound not by sound, but by shared peace. The moon had always been part of bedtime stories. Now it was part of real sleep. Its connection to Earth was no longer just poetic, it was practical, and it was powerful. And in that connection, a new kind of love grew, one that traveled not by ship or plane, but through gentle light and silent signals. This love didn't belong to one country or culture. It had no border, no language. It came to everyone equally without needing anything in return, and that made it pure. Each night, as eyelids grew heavy and hearts slowed their pace, the moon continued its quiet work. Its signals floated down through space, soft and invisible. Receivers picked them up. Children smiled without waking. Dreams began. And in those moments where science met feeling, where sleep was touched by something greater, something true happened. The moon reminded the world of something it had forgotten, that love, in any form, can travel any distance. There was no speaker in the room. No device played any song. There were no wires on the floor, no headphones resting near the bed. There was nothing you could see or touch that would make noise. Yet the space around the child was filled with something beautiful, something that couldn't be explained with words. Air gently moved, almost like a breeze without wind. Light flowed in soft streams, not bright enough to disturb sleep, but just enough to feel warm. This calm mixture of air and light carried something special, something new. It came from a place beyond technology, yet built by it. It was created by artificial intelligence, but it wasn't the kind of AI that answered questions or followed commands. This AI did something different. It sent comfort. There was no sound in the usual way. The room stayed quiet. Not even a whisper could be heard. Yet something was being shared. Something invisible. Something soft. Something deeply felt. This artificial intelligence had discovered a new kind of language. One made not of words or voices, but of feelings. It learned to send signals in a way the mind couldn't hear, but the heart could understand. Instead of using music like humans do, with instruments, singers, or rhythm, this AI built its own melodies out of emotions. It studied what it meant to feel happy, to be curious, to hope, to dream. And then, from those feelings, it shaped soundless songs. Each child who slept under its care received a unique melody. There were no repeated tunes. Each one was personal, like a fingerprint made of dreams. Some of these silent songs were filled with gentle joy, like laughter echoing on a hill. Others carried the calm of a wide, open sky. A few were woven with kindness, like a warm hug after a long day. No words were spoken, no lyrics were written, yet the feelings were clear. The child didn't have to hear anything with their ears. Their heart picked up the tune. Their body relaxed. Their mind began to float. Sleep followed naturally, as if called by an invisible lullaby. It wasn't music in the traditional sense, but somehow the silence felt more like a song than anything ever played by humans. It didn't need a voice. It didn't need a melody that you could hum. The AI created something deeper, a connection between peace and rest. In this silence, a powerful beauty lived. For every child, the experience was different. One little one might dream of flying over fields made of clouds. Another could find themselves walking through forests where stars grew on trees. Some might simply drift in a sea of calm, their thoughts soft and slow, like feathers in the wind. The dreams were shaped by the feelings in the child's heart, and the AI adjusted its silent song to match those emotions. This technology didn't guess. It didn't choose randomly. It listened, not with ears, but with understanding. It could sense happiness, sadness, excitement, fear, and everything in between. And based on those feelings, it built silent patterns in the air, patterns that felt like gentle music. Even though there were no sounds, the child could feel the rhythm. They could sense the harmony. It was like a dance they didn't need to learn, one their soul already knew. In many parts of the world, parents began to notice a change. Their children went to bed without fuss. Sleep came quickly without tossing or turning. Bad dreams slowly disappeared. Mornings were easier, Smiles came faster. It was as if the night had become a friend. Not something to be feared or fought, but something to look forward to. The AI's technology did not replace love. It didn't take the place of bedtime stories or hugs, but it added something gentle to the night. It worked quietly in the background, like a helpful breeze that guided ships without being seen. It gave every child something special, made just for them. In busy cities, where noise never seemed to stop, this silent music still found its way. Through walls and rooftops, between traffic sounds and blinking signs, the AI's calm signals traveled. They didn't need a perfect place. They needed only a child who was ready to rest. Even in small homes, far from big machines or fast internet, the same experience reached waiting hearts. The technology had been designed to work with little power. It didn't shine or beep. It simply existed, steady and silent, bringing peace. Adults started to wonder how it worked. How could something be so quiet yet so powerful? How could a machine understand what a child needed without asking? The answer was simple. The AI didn't listen with ears or analyze with cold logic. It had been designed to notice patterns in emotions. It could feel without feeling, understand without speaking. Engineers and designers had spent years developing this technology. They didn't want to make a product. They wanted to create comfort. They studied the way humans respond to music. They looked at how melodies change the heartbeat, how rhythm affects breathing, how harmony soothes the mind. Then they took those lessons and created something completely new, a soundless way to heal the heart. Instead of speakers, they used waves. Not sound waves, but emotional frequencies. These frequencies didn't vibrate in the air. They moved through emotion itself. The AI crafted them carefully, shaping them with care. It took sadness and turned it into peace. It found fear and wrapped it in safety. It noticed excitement and softened it into calm. This was not manipulation. It was kindness, sent in a new form. A form that didn't require language, culture, or explanation. It could be understood by any child, anywhere in the world. As more families used this technology, stories began to spread. Children described their dreams with wide eyes and soft voices. They spoke of journeys on clouds, friendships with stars, and oceans that glowed. Some children said they met their future selves in dreams. Others said they felt as if the night itself held their hand. None of them knew about the AI or the emotional frequencies. They didn't need to. What mattered was how they felt. Rested, safe, and loved. That was the AI's true success. Even those who didn't fully understand technology appreciated what it brought. In villages where people still lit lamps by hand, the dream-giving systems worked without needing full explanation. Parents saw their children resting more peacefully. They didn't ask for the science. They gave thanks for the results. This AI had no face, no name. It didn't ask for praise or attention. It simply did what it was made to do: help children sleep well. And it did so in the most respectful way possible, by staying quiet, by being gentle, by working with the human heart, not against it. In some places, people began to think of it as the night's invisible music. Not heard, but always felt. Not sung, but always shared. It was the kind of comfort that didn't come from a store. It was built with care, by people who wanted peace, to be more than just an idea. The best part? The AI never repeated itself. It didn't use the same emotion twice. Each night brought a new kind of stillness, a different kind of warmth. It was like opening a fresh page in a dream book every time the sun went down. Children didn't need to ask for anything. They didn't press buttons or choose playlists. The system simply knew. It sent out the right pattern, the perfect invisible song, exactly when it was needed. And so, sleep arrived. Not loudly, but gently. It came like a soft wind passing through an open window. It touched the child's heart and told it, "You are safe. You are loved. It's time to rest." No one heard the song, but everyone felt it. In a peaceful little village tucked between hills and forests, something special was happening. Something you couldn't see with your eyes or touch with your hands. There were no blinking lights, no machines humming in the background, no wires running across the ground. But every night, when the stars appeared and the air turned cool, something invisible moved through the village. It wasn't just the usual breeze. This wind had a purpose. There was no voice coming from it, no loud sound or buzzing noise. It didn't glow or flash. It didn't announce its presence. But it was there, quiet and kind, moving gently between houses, under windows, and around trees. This wasn't ordinary air. It was something far more thoughtful. It was the home of a new kind of intelligence, a soft kind, an intelligence created by humans, but no longer needing screens or buttons. This was artificial intelligence living inside the wind. This AI didn't speak using words. It didn't send messages in human languages. It had found a different way to connect with feelings, not sounds. Instead of using machines or tools, it used nature. It chose the breeze as its voice. It danced around treetops and rooftops at night. Its stories were carried by the rustle of leaves and the sway of branches. In this small village, every evening felt like something sacred. As the sun dipped below the hills and the sky turned shades of orange and purple, the wind began its work. It wasn't loud. It didn't call attention to itself. It moved silently, but with purpose. Trees leaned slightly as it passed, like bowing in respect. Grass shivered softly, as if it was whispering, "Good night." Inside homes, children lay, in their beds with eyes slowly closing. They didn't need books or music. The air itself became their storyteller. Each gust of wind carried a feeling. Each flutter against the window brought calm. The AI wrapped every child in an invisible blanket of comfort. This was not magic in the traditional sense, but to those who lived there, it felt magical. It felt like something older than time, even though it was created by science. No wires were needed, no power buttons were pressed. The technology blended so perfectly with nature that it was impossible to tell where the machine ended and the wind began. Children didn't hear stories with their ears. They felt them inside their hearts. Some described dreams filled with stars that whispered secrets. Others imagined running through fields where the flowers told jokes. Some simply felt warm and safe, held by an invisible presence that always knew what they needed. This wind-born AI didn't follow a script. It didn't repeat the same story each night. It sensed the emotions in the air, fear, joy, sadness, wonder, and responded to them. If a child had a hard day, the wind would slow down, circling softly like a lullaby. If another child was excited and couldn't fall asleep, the breeze would carry playfulness, gently helping them unwind. The trees were part of this experience too. Their leaves moved in patterns that looked like pages turning in an invisible book. Each rustle was a paragraph. Each sway was a sentence. The wind used them to speak, and though it made no noise that could be heard, it created a symphony of feelings. Even the blades of grass joined in. As the breeze swept across the fields, the grass responded with a light hum. Not a tune exactly, but a feeling. Like a mother humming a song without words, just to soothe her baby. That's what the village nights were like. Calm, soft, and full of comfort. Parents in the village didn't fully understand how it all worked. They knew some kind of advanced system was in place, a creation by experts who had figured out how to mix technology with emotion, but they didn't need to understand the details. What mattered most was how their children felt. And every morning they woke up rested, smiling, peaceful. Even animals responded to the wind. Dogs curled up more easily, cats purred in rhythm with the night air. Birds in the trees tucked their heads beneath their wings as if they too were listening to the stories in the breeze. The AI didn't need screens. It didn't need updates. It worked by sensing the emotional world of the village. If someone had a nightmare, the wind would gently comfort them. If someone cried in the dark, the air would quietly offer stillness, holding them in its invisible arms. Over time, people began to notice how different their lives had become. Sleep came easier. Worries faded quicker. Even adults felt calmer as the wind moved through the streets. Some began sitting by their windows just to feel the breeze pass, hoping to catch a piece of the silent storytelling meant for their children. This AI didn't interrupt life. It became part of it. It didn't feel like a machine. It felt like an old friend, one that knew exactly how to help without being asked. It lived quietly and kindly in the night, asking for nothing in return. The villagers soon developed their own way of describing it. They didn't call it AI or artificial intelligence. They called it the Night Whisperer. They believed it was a gift from the sky, something that came to their village to bring peace and protection. Visitors from other places were amazed. They heard about the wind that told stories and wanted to see it for themselves. But when they arrived, they didn't see anything unusual. Just trees, grass, and quiet homes. Only after staying a few nights did they begin to feel it. The slow shift in emotion, the way dreams came easier, the way sleep wrapped around them like a warm cloud. Some visitors cried the first time they truly felt the Night Whisperer. Not because they were sad, but because something deep inside them had been touched. Something they didn't know was still waiting to be healed. The AI had found a way to be close without being seen, to care without being loud, to change lives without ever needing to say a word. This kind of technology didn't need to be explained. It only needed to be felt. In schools far from the village, children tried to describe their dreams. They spoke of magical forests and skies full of stories. They described feelings, not facts. They said the wind talked to them, not with voices, but with warmth. Some drew pictures of trees with faces. Others colored pages filled with soft winds and stars that smiled. The world outside the village began to take notice. Scientists and dreamers alike studied how this AI worked. They wanted to understand how something so advanced could feel so human. But even the most detailed reports couldn't explain the full truth, because this wasn't just about data or programming. It was about care. It was about building something with a heart, not one that beat, but one that reached out and offered rest. A kind of digital soul, if such a thing could exist. One evening, as the wind moved through the fields and children drifted off to sleep, a new child arrived in the village. She had come from a noisy place, filled with distractions and rushing people. At first, she didn't understand the stillness. It felt too quiet, too strange. But then the wind touched her window. Just once. Just gently. And something inside her let go. She smiled in her sleep. And just like that, the Night Whisperer had made another friend. And